How's it going, everyone? As you can tell from the title of today's video, we are going to be installing an eBay intake on my 2003 Saab 9.3. So, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that I have done a good amount of mods to both of my 9.3s with a variety of different branded parts. And, well, I really don't have any eBay branded parts on the car yet, but this is, quite frankly, I don't even know what company this hose is from, but it was bought off eBay. One of my friends here locally was selling it cheap. I figured, why not? I can, worst case scenario, if it sucks, put it on, make a video on it, and give you guys a recommendation on it. So, speaking of intakes though, you might remember first off that I did have a different intake on this car for a short period. It actually wasn't this part of the intake. The only part we're going to be installing today is this S-shaped hose, which goes between here and the turbo down there. I did have an open air intake on this car temporarily. The pipe was cracked because I also had bought that secondhand, and no matter what I tried to do to fix it, it wouldn't stop throwing a check engine light. But I do have a K&N filter on the car, which adds a little bit of turbo noise, not really much different. This shouldn't do really anything in the way of noise, but the benefit of this hose right here is that it's silicone, so in theory it is much stiffer, more durable, and just better than this plastic stock hose. So when you're looking at intakes for your Saab 9.3, there's a few different options you can go. In my opinion, I've always said this in Facebook groups and when people ask me for advice, DO88 is by far and away the best intake made for these cars. And that is really just because of the quality of their products. So when you look at this intake hose from eBay, which is obviously a bit cheaper than the DO88 one, you can see it's silicone. That's nice. It's decently thick. Unfortunately, I don't have any DO88 hoses off the cars to compare it to right now, but I will tell you that when I squeeze this, it's not super rigid. I can tell it's, it's still got a good amount of play in it. But when I come over to my Turbo X here, you can see I have the DO88 intake on this car. This is a silicone intake hose. Not the same exact hose, but it's the hose that is right before the turbo. So if I squeeze this, you can see, might be hard to see actually, that is just as much force, if not more, and it is a lot stiffer than that eBay hose. So right off the bat, I'm noticing that it's not necessarily as stiff or sturdy as a DO88 hose, which makes sense. My only other concern with this is fitment. So we'll know that once we put it on the car. One last thing before we do get into this video, guys, make sure to check out my Patreon, linked at the top of the description. You can get access to videos like this early, some additional posts, some more behind the scenes stuff on what's going on with the cars, and you can help support the channel more. So yeah, go ahead, check it out, and let's get into this install. This process shouldn't be too difficult to get this old hose off, but I do want to say, if you guys do want to purchase this hose or just look at it more, I'll put a screenshot on the screen right here and you can check it out for yourselves. I'm not going to be promoting this brand in any way though, because like I said, I don't even know what brand this is, and I'm not trying to talk bad on it at all, let me make that very clear, but I just want to also make it clear that if you're willing to spend the money, there are better products out there. So this is more just for testing purposes more than anything, but let's go ahead, get into it. First thing I want to do here is remove the worm clamp that is holding the old hose to the air box. So that's nice and loose. You can see that'll pop off now. I am also noticing that because this car is an 03, it has two hoses that go into this intake hose here. One is on this side that comes off the boost control valve, and there's one on the back side as well, and I believe that is for the secondary air injection. My secondary air injection is tuned out, so what I'm going to do is pull off this hose and probably just stick a plug on it. I suggest you do the same if you have an 03. I'm going to loosen that right now. That's just stuck down in here. So for Yo3 guys, I wanted to take the little hose off too to show you exactly what I'm going to do. So this is where the secondary air injection goes into the intake hose, and then this is the other intake line for which the new hose sitting over there does have an outlet for. So all 9.3s will have this little nipple right here. So what I'm going to do is take off this little piece, and on this end of it where it should be going into the hose, I'm just going to stick a screw into the end of it and make sure that this clamp is tightly on here so there's not an air leak. So I found a screw that is fat enough to fit into the end of this bolt. As you know, it goes great with Chinese parts, ghetto fixes to problems like this. But like I said, I have my secondary air injection tuned out, so in theory I would think this shouldn't matter anyways, but I'm going to put this hose clamp on here anyways, just to make sure this doesn't leak. But it should be fine because that thing was really tightly screwed in there. There we go. Now we can put this end back onto the hard line that's on the other side, and then we can slide our new hose in. This would also be a good time to check out that turbo. You can see there's no like crazy buildup or anything on there. I stuck my finger in there. There's no play on the shaft. So my turbo is still in great shape, thankfully. So when we're talking about fitment, here is where I'm running into my first issue. See, there's like this little metal line right here on this, and when I go to put the vacuum line on it, you can see it's too small. It doesn't fit on there. So really my only option is to get a hose clamp that'll just seat around this nice and tight and hopefully hold it on there. But again, so one of the downsides of ordering parts like this is you never know if they're going to fit perfectly, and clearly, well, this one doesn't. So here's what I ended up doing. A hose clamp on the blue part of the hose, and then another clamp on the vacuum line, and it's really tight on there and it holds that metal line on there well enough. So with that fitted on there, I guess it's time to reinstall this. So thankfully there's not a ton in the way. Really all we have to do now is just put the hose clamp on either side and then reconnect the boost pressure control valve. So I'm going to start by reinstalling this bottom hose clamp. Now we can do the top one here. Make sure we plug in our boost pressure control valve and then click it back into place here on the wastegate. And we're good to go. So the car is all back together. It's running. I do want to mention, outside of like I kind of say at the beginning of the video, nice and soft. It's not nearly as solid as the DO88 product, a lot stiffer. So really I think the only purpose you gain of doing this mod is the looks. You might, you know, it's going to be a little bit stiffer than the stock part. Actually, it might just be a tiny bit stiffer. It might actually be a little bit softer. I'm squeezing it at the same spot. It might even be just a little bit softer than the stock part. But on top of that, fitment wise, like I had mentioned, the little vacuum line right here was a bit of a pain to get right. On top of that, the part of the hose that connects to the turbo, I guess I can show you via the old hose right here. So the old hose, or the hose, should be sitting straight up and down to the turbo. I was struggling with the new hose kind of sitting like this, so the bottom part was not sitting flush with the base of the turbo. Eventually I was able to get it, but it took me about 20-30 minutes of struggling. The car seems to be running fine though. I'll make sure to go take it for a drive, but again, I really think that this is one of those mods that's really there for looks. If you did go with something like the DO88 kit, however, I mean, maybe eventually I'll be doing this on this car, we'll see with time. But again, stiffness wise, that's just really soft and not the best quality. So if you're looking to spice up your engine bay, make it look a little bit cooler, I can see the desire for this, but I think that's going to wrap up this video, guys. It's very hot out. So I'm going to put away all the tools, and that'll be it. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all